Hey, hey, hey! Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Real Talk English Podcast, the show where we talk like real people about real things in real English.
That's right. I'm Sophie, and as always, I'm joined by the one and only Marcus. How are you doing today?
Honestly, I'm great. Had a strong cup of coffee, the sun is out, can't complain. How about you?
I'm wonderful, thank you. And I'm really excited about today's episode because, Marcus, this one feels personal to me.
Oh, yeah? Tell us more.
Well, today we're talking about social anxiety. And almost everyone listening has felt it at some point, right? That tight feeling in your chest before a big social event? The way your mind goes blank when someone asks you a question you weren't expecting.
Absolutely. And what makes this topic so interesting is that a lot of people don't even realize they're experiencing social anxiety. They just think, oh, I'm just shy or I'm just an introvert. But it can be so much more than that.
Exactly. So today we're going to get into what social anxiety actually is, what it feels like, how it affects everyday life, and we'll share some practical strategies for managing it. Whether you're here to improve your English or just to feel less alone, this episode is for you.
Love that. All right, let's dive in.
So, Marcus, let's start simple. When we say social anxiety, what do we actually mean?
Right, so social anxiety, the clinical term is social anxiety disorder, though not everyone who has it is at a clinical level, is basically an intense fear of social situations. Fear of being judged, embarrassed, or rejected by other people.
And it goes beyond just feeling nervous before a big presentation. For some people, it's walking into a crowded room. For others, it's making a phone call to a stranger, or even just making eye contact.
Right. And what people don't talk about enough is how exhausting it is. You're constantly in your head. What do they think of me? Did I say something weird? Why did I laugh like that?
Oh, the replaying conversations afterwards. That is so real.
It is. You have one awkward moment, and then you're lying awake at midnight thinking about it for 3 days.
Okay, I have to be honest. I've been there, personally. I spent a huge chunk of my 20s thinking something was fundamentally wrong with me. Like, why couldn't I just relax and enjoy being around people?
And how did that feel?
Isolating. Really isolating. Because on the outside, people would say, "Oh, Sophie, you're so confident, so put together." And I'd be smiling and nodding, but on the inside, I'd be counting down the minutes until I could go home and be by myself.
That's such a common experience. And it points to something important. Social anxiety doesn't always look the way people expect it to. It's not always someone hiding in the corner. Sometimes it's the person who overcompensates, who talks too much or laughs too loudly, because they're trying to cover up the fear.
That's a really good point. The mask. So many people wear a mask.
Absolutely. And for our English learners, that expression, wearing a mask, means pretending to feel differently than you actually do, hiding your true emotions.
Great phrase. Write that one down.
So let's talk about some everyday situations where social anxiety shows up. Because when we name specific situations, people go, oh, that's what that is.
Yes. Okay, I'll start. Job interviews.
Massive one.
Because you are literally being evaluated. You know you're being judged. That's the whole point of the meeting. And for someone with social anxiety, that can feel absolutely terrifying.
And your mind can go completely blank. You know the answer, you've rehearsed it, but the second they ask, it just disappears.
Gone. Like a Wi-Fi signal in a tunnel.
Perfect analogy. What else?
Eating in public, especially alone. There are people who genuinely cannot sit alone in a restaurant because they feel like everyone is watching and judging them, which logically you know isn't true, but the feeling is very real.
And that's key. Social anxiety isn't about logic. You can tell yourself 100 times, nobody is looking at me, and it doesn't make the feeling go away.
Exactly. It's an emotional response, not a rational one. You can't just think your way out of it.
What about social media? I feel like that's a modern layer of this whole thing.
100%. You post something and you're refreshing every 30 seconds to see if anyone liked it. And if nobody does, or if you get a negative comment, it can feel devastating.
Social media also makes anxiety worse in a sneaky way. You're constantly comparing your inner world to everyone else's highlight reel.
Yes, you see someone's birthday party with 20 smiling friends and think, why isn't my life like that? But you don't see their anxiety before the party, or the argument halfway through, or the fact that they also cried alone that night.
Social media is a curated performance of life.
It really is. And for someone already prone to social anxiety, it can make you feel incredibly inadequate.
Let's talk about the physical side of social anxiety, because I think it surprises people.
Oh, yes, because it's not just in your head.
Not at all. When you experience social anxiety, your body goes into the fight or flight response. Your brain interprets a social threat the same way it would interpret a physical danger.
So your heart races, palms get sweaty, your face goes red, your voice might shake. All of that is your nervous system firing at the wrong moment.
It's like your brain is screaming danger because someone asked you to introduce yourself in a meeting.
Very inconvenient.
Extremely inconvenient. And embarrassing, which then makes the anxiety worse because now you're anxious about being visibly anxious.
It becomes a loop. Anxiety about anxiety.
Exactly. And that cycle is hard to break, which is why having concrete strategies matters so much. Let's talk about what actually helps.
Okay, yes. So first, and this is maybe the most important, acknowledging the feeling. Just naming it.
So instead of fighting the anxiety or pretending it isn't there, you say, either out loud or in your head, I'm feeling anxious right now. That's okay. This is just a feeling, and it will pass.
There's research behind this, actually. It's called affect labeling. When you name an emotion, it activates the rational part of your brain and calms down the alarm system.
Your brain goes from danger to, oh, we're just nervous. That's manageable.
So tip 1, name the feeling. Don't run from it.
Tip 2, breathing. Slow, deliberate breathing. Breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 4, breathe out for 4. Because when you're anxious, your breathing becomes fast and shallow, which signals more danger to your brain. When you slow it down, you're telling your nervous system, we're safe.
It's like a remote control for your body's alarm system.
Brilliant. Okay, what else?
Preparation, but not over-preparation. For situations that make you anxious, like a social event or job interview, prepare a little. Have a few conversation topics ready. Know some questions to ask. A small structure can make you feel grounded.
But the not over preparation part matters, because some people rehearse so much they become paralyzed when the real conversation doesn't match their script.
Right. Prepare to feel comfortable, not to control every outcome. There's a real difference there.
I love that.
Another thing that really helped me, and this connects to English learning too, is exposure. Gradually putting yourself in situations that make you a little uncomfortable.
Small steps, not jumping in the deep end all at once.
Exactly. Maybe this week you smile and say good morning to a neighbor you don't know. Next week, you make a small request at a cafe. You build confidence slowly, step by step.
It's like training a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Yes, and avoidance feels safe short-term, but it makes anxiety stronger over time. Every time you avoid something, your brain learns, that was dangerous. We were right to be scared. When you face it, even in a small way, your brain starts to update that belief.
And speaking of English learning, I think learning a second language adds an extra layer to social anxiety. You've got the regular social fears plus fear of grammar mistakes or not being understood.
Oh, that is so real. And I want to say to anyone listening right now who feels anxious about speaking English, your accent is not a mistake. Your hesitation is not a failure. You are doing something incredibly brave by communicating in a language that isn't your mother tongue.
And most people are genuinely rooting for you. Good people appreciate the effort.
Most people are too busy thinking about themselves to be judging you, honestly.
Harsh but fair. Harsh but fair.
And one more tip. Talk about it. Find one trusted person and say, "Hey, I struggle with social anxiety." Just saying it out loud takes away so much of its power.
Because shame loves silence. When you keep something hidden, it grows bigger in the dark.
Beautifully put.
Thank you. I've been workshopping that line.
Well, it landed.
As we wrap up, and I can't believe how fast this episode went, I want to say something to anyone who identified with what we talked about today.
Please, go ahead.
You are not broken. Social anxiety is one of the most common human experiences in the world. Millions of people feel exactly what you feel. And the fact that you're here, listening, trying to understand yourself better, that already says something really powerful about you.
I want to add to that. Progress doesn't always mean becoming the most confident person in the room. Sometimes progress is, you went to the party, you made the phone call, you said hello. Those small moments matter more than you know.
And be patient with yourself. Genuinely. Changing how your brain responds to social situations takes time. It's not a switch you flip. It's a slow, sometimes messy, absolutely worthwhile process.
And if your social anxiety is significantly impacting your daily life, your work, your relationships, your happiness, please consider speaking to a therapist or counselor. They can offer tools and support that go beyond what a podcast can. Asking for help is a sign of courage, not weakness.
100% agree.
All right, let's quickly highlight some great English phrases from today that our learners can use.
We had, "I'm in my head," meaning overthinking or being distracted by anxious thoughts.
Wearing a mask, hiding your true feelings behind a composed exterior.
Fight or flight response, the body's instinctive reaction to a perceived threat.
Counting down the minutes, waiting impatiently for something to be over.
And shame loves silence, a reminder that talking about difficult things reduces their power.
All useful phrases. Practice them, use them, make them yours.
All right, that's a wrap on this episode of Real Talk English Podcast. Sophie, as always, this was a genuinely wonderful conversation.
It really was. I feel like we need to do a part 2 sometime.
I think the listeners would love that. So let us know. Drop a comment below, tell us what you thought, tell us if anything here resonated with you.
And if you found this episode valuable, please subscribe to Real Talk English Podcast on YouTube. Hit that bell icon so you never miss a new episode.
Like this video, share it with someone who might need to hear it today. You never know who in your life might be quietly struggling.
Follow us on social media. All the links are in the description below. And if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please leave us a rating and review. It genuinely helps more people find us.
Whether you're here to improve your English, to feel less alone, or you somehow stumbled across us, you are always welcome here. This is a safe space.
Real Talk English Podcast. Real conversations, real English, real people.
Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.
Bye, everyone.
See you next week!